When a group of 24 thoroughbred broodmares appeared in a Texas kill pen earlier this year, the story spread through the horse world with remarkable speed. Within days, photographs of the mares had circulated across social media platforms. Rescue organizations were scrambling to save money, and horse lovers from around the country were debating what should happen next. Some people immediately opened their wallets and donated. Others shared the story with friends and urged the public to help save the horses. Still, others focused their attention on a different question entirely, asking how 24 registered thoroughbred mares had arrived in such a situation in the first place. At first glance, it seemed like a familiar story. A group of horses was facing an uncertain future. Compassionate people stepped forward to help, and the horse community rallied around a rescue effort. Stories like this have become increasingly common over the past 2 decades, particularly in the age of social media, where photographs and videos can reach thousands of people in a matter of hours. Yet, beneath the surface, this particular case exposed a much deeper issue, one that extends far beyond these 24 mares and touches nearly every corner of the horse industry. Because the reality is that these mares are not simply 24 individual horses. They have become symbols in a larger debate about responsibility, accountability, welfare, and the future of horse ownership itself. They represent questions that horse owners, breeders, trainers, veterinarians, rescue organizations, and industry leaders have struggled to answer for decades. More importantly, they force us to confront a difficult truth that many people would rather avoid. While everyone seems to have an explanation for how horses end up in situations like this, very few people agree on how to prevent those situations from happening in the first place. That observation lies at the heart of Chelsea Hackbarth's article in the Pollock Report. In her piece, Hackbarth examined not only the circumstances surrounding the mares, but also the larger debate that erupted around them. It was a debate that quickly became familiar to anyone who has spent time in the horse world. Rescue advocates defended their efforts. Critics questioned the economics of kill pen fundraising. Industry supporters pointed towards aftercare initiatives. Others focused on breeders and ownership responsibility. Within days, the conversation had become less about the mares themselves and more about competing philosophies regarding how horses should be protected. What made the situation particularly striking was that nearly every side could present a reasonable argument. Rescue organizations argued that when a horse is standing in a kill pen, discussions about long-term strategy become secondary. A living animal is in immediate danger, and if there is an opportunity to intervene, that opportunity should not be ignored. To many horse lovers, this perspective feels instinctively correct. After all, when confronted with an individual horse facing an uncertain future, it can seem almost cruel to prioritize economic theories over immediate action. Critics of the rescue system, however, presented a different perspective. They argued that repeatedly paying elevated prices for horses in kill pens may unintentionally strengthen the market that places horses there in the first place. If kill buyers know that emotional social media campaigns can generate substantial donations, then horses may become more valuable within the rescue economy than they would otherwise be. According to this argument, rescue efforts may save individual horses while simultaneously encouraging a cycle that produces more horses in need of rescue. Meanwhile, breeders and owners found themselves facing difficult questions about accountability. How long should responsibility for a horse last? Does a breeder remain responsible for a horse 10 years after it leaves the farm? 20 years? An entire lifetime? What happens when ownership changes multiple times? What happens when horses disappear from public view for years before suddenly reappearing in a crisis situation? These questions do not have easy answers, which is precisely why they continue to generate such intense disagreement. The truth is that horse ownership exists within a reality that is often more complicated than many people would like to admit. Horses are not short-term commitments. They are not disposable possessions. They are long-lived animals that can require decades of care. A thoroughbred born today may live 25 or even 30 years. During that time, the horse may pass through multiple owners, move across several states, experience injuries, retire from competition, and outlive many of the circumstances that originally defined its value. When a foal is born, the future often appears full of possibilities. Breeders envision successful careers, owners dream of championships, trainers imagine potential, investments are made, plans are developed, expectations are formed. Yet horses do not always follow the paths that humans create for them. Some become stars, some become useful riding horses, some suffer injuries, some fail to meet expectations, some simply age out of the roles they were originally intended to perform. The challenge begins when the horse's economic value changes. For much of human history, horses occupied a practical role in society. They pulled plows, carried soldiers, transported goods, and served as essential partners in daily life. In modern world, however, most horses exist primarily for sport, recreation, breeding, or companionship. While many owners care deeply about their animals, the economic realities of horse ownership have not disappeared. Feed, veterinary care, farrier service, transportation, and boarding expenses continue regardless of whether a horse is generating income or achieving competitive success. This reality becomes particularly relevant when discussing broodmares. Unlike racehorses, which often receive public attention during their competitive careers, broodmares frequently disappear from public view once they enter breeding programs. Yet they play an essential role within the thoroughbred industry. Without broodmares, there are no racehorses. Every champion begins with a mare. Every bloodline depends upon mares. Every generation of thoroughbred exists because breeders invest in broodmares and their offspring. At the same time, broodmares face a unique challenge. Their value is often tied directly to their reproductive potential. As mares age, produce fewer foals, or become less commercially attractive, their economic value can decline significantly. Some retire into excellent homes, some remain with breeders for the rest of their lives. Others change hands multiple times. Still, others eventually disappear into a network of private sales, live auctions, and transactions that are difficult to track. That reality helps explain why the story of these 24 mares struck such a nerve. These were not racehorses fresh off the track. They were not young prospects searching for second careers. They were older broodmares whose most productive years were likely behind them. In many ways, they represented one of the most difficult categories of horses to place successfully. Retraining opportunities may be limited. Competitive careers may no longer be realistic. Veterinary costs may increase as the horses age. Finding suitable homes can become increasingly challenging. These realities do not make the horses any less deserving of care. However, they do illustrate why long-term welfare planning is often far more complicated than many people realize. The thoroughbred industry has spent years attempting to address these challenges. Organizations dedicated to aftercare have expanded dramatically over the past 2 decades. Millions of dollars have been invested in rehabilitation, retraining, retirement programs, and adoption initiatives. Accredited aftercare facilities work every day to provide former racehorses with opportunities beyond the track. Thousands of thoroughbreds have successfully transitioned into new careers as dressage horses, eventers, hunters, jumpers, trail horses, and family companions. These achievements deserve recognition because they represent genuine progress. Yet, stories like this continue to emerge. Every time they do, they raise an uncomfortable question. If so much effort and money has been invested in aftercare, why do horses still find themselves in situations that generate public outrage? Part of the answer may lie in scale. The thoroughbred industry produces thousands of horses every year. While aftercare programs have helped many animals, the challenge of providing lifelong support for an entire population remains enormous. Not every horse is young enough for retraining. Not every horse is healthy enough for a second career. Not every horse finds a suitable adopter. Not every owner plans decades into the future. As a result, gaps continue to exist. And it is within those gaps that horses become vulnerable. Perhaps the most significant lesson from this story is that by the time a horse reaches a kill pen, the underlying problem has usually existed for years. A kill pen is not the beginning of a horse's journey. It is the result of a long sequence of decisions, transactions, and circumstances that occurred long before the horse arrived there. Someone bred the horse, someone purchased the horse, someone sold the horse, someone decided to not keep the horse, someone chose where the horse would go next. Every step in that process represents an opportunity for a different outcome. That is why many welfare advocates argue that prevention deserves far more attention than rescue. Rescue efforts are often dramatic and highly visible. They inspire emotional response. They generate donations. They create compelling stories. Prevention, by contrast, is rarely exciting. It involves planning, accountability, funding, and long-term commitment. It requires addressing problems before they become emergencies. Yet, prevention may ultimately be the only approach capable of reducing the number of horses that reach crisis situations. As the debate surrounding these mares continues, one reality remained impossible to ignore. The public does not see the industry's internal arguments. The public does not see spreadsheets showing aftercare investments. The public does not see successful retraining programs. The public does not see policy discussions. The public sees a thoroughbred standing in a kill pen, and then it asks a simple question: how did this happen? That question may be uncomfortable, but it is also necessary, because until the horse industry can answer that question convincingly, and more importantly, prevent it from being asked repeatedly, stories like this will continue to surface. New horses will replace old horses. New rescue campaigns will emerge. New debates will erupt. New arguments will be made. And while humans continue debating responsibility, accountability, and economics, the horse will remain dependent upon decisions made by others. Perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. The horse does not care who wins the argument. The horse does not care whether one side proves itself correct. The horse only experiences the outcome, and that reality should challenge everyone involved in the conversation to look beyond the latest controversy and toward a future in which fewer horses ever reach these situations in the first place. Thank you so much for joining us, and remember, I am not AI. If you listen closely, you can hear me breathing.